I hope you're keeping well today. I am currently at Baku Caves in Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia, and it is 35 degrees. It is extremely humid and I'm very hot, but it is the most incredible place. If you ever get a chance to come here, I would certainly recommend it. But the only place that I can find that's reasonably quiet to film today is in the car park. It is absolutely heaving with people everywhere else. So that's why I'm walking around a car park today. Anyway, I thought I'd just spend a bit of time chatting with you today, thinking about how do we discern what God's purpose is for our life. The Bible is full of verses that remind us that God has a purpose for each one of us, of course. Jeremiah 29 verse 11 is a classic one that comes to mind, doesn't it? Even though that was written to a community rather than individuals, I think the principle is the same when God says, I alone know the plans I have for you, plans to bring you prosperity and not disaster. God has a plan for all of our lives. But how do we discover what that plan actually is? Well, today I want to give you 7 keys, if you like, that I hope will help you unlock God's purpose, God's plan for your life, if you haven't done so already. And they all begin with P. And the first one is patience. You would perhaps not be amazed at how many people I speak to in my ministry as a priest in the church who are frustrated that they haven't discovered God's purpose for their lives yet. People in their 20s, people in their 30s, and people in their 40s. And I always say to them, be patient. In one sense, there's no hurry. God will reveal his purpose for you in good time. And when you think about the scriptures, you think about some of the most amazing people of God who actually discovered their purpose very, very late in life. We think about Abram, for example, in Genesis chapter 12, who was 75 before God told him to leave his home and go to the place that he was going to be shown. We think about Moses, who was 80 years old before God asked him to go to the Pharaoh and deliver the Israelites from the Egyptians. And we think about Noah as well, who was a pretty hefty 600 years old before the flood. So, God's purpose, God's plan for our lives can come to us quite late in life. We are never too old. And if you, like me, are at a slightly later stage of life, and you still feel you haven't discovered your purpose, your plan, I would say don't be anxious about it. Don't worry about it. God will reveal it when he is ready to. Sorry, I'm just about to get knocked down by a car there. There we go. Good. So the first one then is patience. The second point I would say is perseverance. We're all on a journey with God, aren't we? And we're on a journey into self-discovery. And when it comes to discovering God's purpose for our lives, it is a journey. And actually, the process of discovery, the journey itself, is actually just as important as the final discovery of what your purpose is. Because we learn so much about ourselves, don't we? We learn so much about God. We learn so much about other people as we make the journey into his purpose for our lives. Paul, I think, in Galatians chapter 1 is a really good example of that. That he was converted, as you might know, on the road to Damascus, and then he went into Damascus for a few days, and then after that he went into Arabia. Now, we don't quite know how long he went for, probably 3 years, we're not absolutely sure, but he spent time there out in no, thank you. No, thank you very much. Thank you. He spent time out in Arabia, working it out didn't he? Sort of persevering in the faith, trying to understand God, trying to understand his new way of living, trying to understand what it meant now to be in a relationship with Jesus. So he just kind of had to really, really persevere and work on it. But the thing is, he didn't do nothing whilst he was persevering in discovering God's purpose for his life. Because in Acts chapter 9, verse 20, it says that, it says, at once, this is straight after his conversion in Damascus, at once he began to preach in the synagogues. So even while he was persevering in trying to work it out, trying to work out what God's plan was for his life, he got on with the task of mission and evangelism. So I would say to you, persevere. If you don't know what God's purpose is for your life yet, persevere. God will reveal it to you. But while you're waiting, don't use that as a kind of reason for inactivity, if you like. Get on with telling people about Jesus. So the first point then is about patience. Then it's perseverance. The next thing I would say is sometimes God introduces things into our lives, or sometimes there are things in our lives anyway that God can then use for his purposes. And one of them, the first one I would suggest, is pain. Things you've experienced in your life in the past, things that have given you pain, maybe trauma, maybe crises that you faced in the past, may be the key to your purpose, because God may be able to use your pain, God may be able to use the difficulties that you've experienced in the past to bring healing to other people. Perhaps you have recovered from an addiction, perhaps you've suffered grief, perhaps you've suffered ill health, perhaps you've really, really struggled spiritually. Well, if any of these things are true and they are points of pain for you in your life, then it may be that God wants to use your pain as part of his purpose and for you to develop in a new ministry. Henri Nouwen was a writer who wrote an amazing book called The Wounded Healer. And he talks about the fact how God uses our wounds in order to bring healing to other people. And of course, Jesus is the ultimate example of that on the cross. But God can use your pain and he can use my pain to bring healing to others. So if you're searching for your purpose in life, then think about the pain you've experienced in the past and how God may want to use that in your ministry to bring healing to other people as well. Fourthly, I would say potential. Do you have areas of your life that have real potential already, that when you look at them you might think, well, actually, yeah, that might be the key to my purpose in life? In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, Paul talks about the gifts of the Spirit and how each one of us has been given gifts by God. And in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4, he says there are different kinds of gifts, but they are all given to believers by the same Spirit. So the reality is that you are very, very gifted. And the gifts that you've got may be the key to unlocking a potential purpose for you in the future. So perhaps, you might have opportunities at the moment to preach, or maybe you've got opportunities to teach. Maybe you've got opportunities to serve other people. Think about, do you have potential in areas of your life that are undeveloped at the moment, but maybe the way forward for you in discovering God's purpose? And I would say experiment, and it's okay to fail. Try a few things out. Try certain giftings out and see where they take you. It may be that no, that's not what God wants you to do as your main purpose in discipleship, but maybe it is. Just experiment, try a few things and see if God leads you in that way. Fifthly, if you're trying to discover God's purpose for your life, is there a problem that you feel compelled to solve? Is there something you feel passionate about in life? So, for example, you may feel very, very passionate about climate change, for example, and really want to get involved in that issue. Or maybe poverty is something in your own community or around the world that you want to focus on. Maybe you've got a real heart for social justice and working for the rights of the marginalised, for example. It may be that if you've got a particular passion in your heart, that God will want you to focus on that and discover your purpose in life through pursuing that. In Acts chapter 26, we read that Paul had a particular passion for reaching the Gentiles with the gospel. And so that became the driving purpose for him, this passion that he had. So do you have a passion that God may want to multiply, really, and turn into a purpose? Sixthly, the P is for platform. Have you got a platform already that you could use to develop your purpose in serving God? What do I mean by that? Well, for example, are you a teacher? Do you work with children and young people? Is that a platform that you could use to tell people about Jesus? Are you a politician? Are you involved in sports locally? Are you a member of your local badminton club or football team or rugby club or cricket club or whatever? Are you a nurse? Do you spend all day caring and showing compassion for the sick? Are you a volunteer in the local community? What about your place of work? Do you have a platform in your place of work that you could then develop as an arena for Christian ministry? And crucially, are you a parent? Could it be that actually your main purpose in life might be to raise your children in the Christian faith and nurture them as disciples of Jesus? I was thinking this morning about St. Augustine and his mother, Monica. St. Augustine was a very wayward teenager and not a Christian, and Monica was absolutely faithful in praying for him, and he was then converted. And of course the impact that St. Augustine has made on the church is beyond quite literally all compare. I think only St. Paul perhaps has had a more profound influence on the development of Christianity. So parenting is a really important platform as well. So do you have a platform that you can actually use to sort of develop your purpose with God? And then seventh and finally, prayer. Pray about it. I'm sure you do already, but just be faithful in prayer and keep asking God in your prayers to reveal to you what your purpose in life might be. And he will at the right time. And it's just a case of, as I said at the beginning, about being patient and persevering. But keep praying and God will reveal it. In Psalm 37 verse 5, we read these words: "Commit your way to the Lord and he will act." That's just keep praying about it. Psalm 27 verse 14 says, "Wait for the Lord, be strong and let your heart take courage." Wait for the Lord. So it's that call really to just kind of keep praying patiently and asking God to reveal his will in your life. But don't get stressed about it. At the right time and in the right place, no matter how old you are or how young you are, God will reveal his purpose for your life, and he will give you all the gifting you need to pursue that. And so that's it then, really. So sorry I've been walking around a car park. It's the only place I can find relative peace and quiet here. Good. I'm going to go and find some shade. It is so hot and so humid. Thanks for being with me today. I hope that's been helpful, and I look forward to being with you again soon. Take care. Bye.